Hey everyone, this is Steli FT with Close.io. In today's video, we're going to talk about the different types of designs that you can use to structure and organize your sales team. So last week, I was talking to a founder that was just at that phase where they needed to start hiring multiple salespeople, and they started worrying about how to organize their internal sales team, what kind of a organizational design to use to put together the sales team in order to do both the best in terms of the results they're driving, but also be the best cultural fit to the type of company they're trying to build. And this was not the first time that I had to talk about this, so I thought I'll share my ideas and some basic designs with you to help you think about all the available options out there to organize your sales team. So as far as I can tell, there's three basic designs in order to organize salespeople within a startup. You either create islands, you either create assembly lines, or you create pods. Those are really the three different models that we're going to talk about. And there's pros and cons to each and every one of these approaches. So it will depend on what you're trying to accomplish if one of them or none of them is really right for you. So let's go through them really quickly. The first model is what I call the island. Maybe another framework to use would be kind of hunters and gatherers. The basic idea here is that everybody does everything, and there's no real organizational structure other than that every single individual, every single sales rep has to do everything within their sales process themselves. So they have to do lead generation themselves, they have to generate leads on their own, they have to reach out to these leads, prospect them, qualify them, and close them. They have to do everything on their own. Typically, these types of sales organizations where every single salesperson just does everything and is responsible for everything, they tend to be a bit more aggressive. They tend to be in more established markets where there's very high margins, but there's also tons of competition and very little differentiation. So real estate is an example that comes to mind. A lot of financial services industries operate in those types of sales models where every single rep is kind of their own little business and they have to take care of everything on their own. And they're really elbows out competing with everyone, not just with other companies, but everyone within their own company. So that structure has pros and cons, right? The pros are that you have to do very little management on a one-by-one basis, right? You operate under the premise that every single person is kind of their own entrepreneur. They have to take care of business themselves. You provide them with some basic things, usually back-end services. You offer them a product range they can sell. You offer them a certain commission structure. You offer them some guidance and some training, but then really everybody is on their own and what they do. So those are, whatever, if you want to call it the pros, but the cons of that is obviously that it creates a very, very aggressive environment. It tends to lead to, not necessarily a unified experience for the customer. So, depending on the salesperson, the customer is going to have a completely different experience on your brand and your company and the way you represent it. And it leads to high levels of churn within your sales organization. So there's going to be tons of people coming into the door and tons of people leaving immediately. So you're going to have very high churn in terms of your sales team and sales organization. This type of sales structure is not usually good for startups, right? For obvious reasons. But it's one available design and one very popular design, especially back in the day. The second way of designing and organizing your sales team is what I call the assembly line, right? And this is basically where you take each step of the sales process and the sales funnel and you create specialized teams that focus on that step in the funnel and then they pass on the customer to the next step in the next team. So one very popular thing to do nowadays is to have an SDR team, a sales development representative team, which is just a fancy title or name for prospectors, right? People that are just responsible to go out there and prospect. You can have a lead generation team. These are the people that get the data, the phone numbers, the names of people to reach out to. You can have prospectors, people that reach out and communicate to these leads and try to qualify them. And then they pass on to the AE team, the account executives, the sales reps that then take these qualified leads. They have appointments, and they call these people on those appointments or visit them, and their job is to close. And then typically in today's startups, they pass it on to a customer success team, which is then responsible to take that new customer and make sure that they're successful, which also means that they're gonna stay much longer being a paying customer, and hopefully upgrade and spend more and more money with us, so increase the customer lifetime value of that customer over time. So you go from lead gen to qualifying to closing to helping on the success side, or to account management, whatever you want to call that. And you have different teams that are highly specialized on each stage, and the customer's experiences that they're passed on from one team to the next, or from one individual to the next, and every single individual being a specialist at what they do. So the assembly line as an organizational structure has pros and cons, right? What are some of the pros? The pros are typically that because you can highly specialize, you can create killer teams, and teams that are really, really good, and teams that are pushing each other to becoming better and better, whether you have some level of competition, but it's within the same team. And if you're a sales rep, you're compared with other sales rep that get similar high quality leads, high quality opportunities on their lap, and you can learn from people within the team. And you make sure that each step of the funnel, you create the best possible team around it. You have the best practices, and you coach and train to get better and better and better at it. And the other thing that's cool about this organizational structure is that it creates a lot of predictability in your business, because you are segmenting each step. You can easily identify what does the lead generation team need to do to give the qualifying team what they need. What does the qualifying team need to do to give the sales reps what they need? What do we need to do to generate the funnel and generate the results we want? And when things go wrong, it's very easy, or much easier, to identify typically where the problem lies. Is it a lead generation problem? Is it a qualifying problem? Is it a closing problem, right? You can look at these individual teams and the numbers they generate and predict what's going to happen in the future, or identify if there's issues much easier. So that's the beauty of that. Obviously, there's some challenges when you start off with a very small team, right? Where you have 2 people, you can have like 5 different teams in your sales rep, in your sales organization. So in that case, you have to be a little creative and still specialize, but specialize just in 2 big steps, right? And you have one person doing all the lead gen and qualifying. You have one person closing and account management, and then as you hire more people, you specialize more in detail and in depth. But that's the assembly line model. And then the third model is the pod model. And the pod model is still utilizing these specialist roles. So you have an SDR, you have an account executive, and you might have a customer success rep. But instead of having these large teams of these specialized roles, you create little pods of these specialized roles. And these pods are responsible for the entire journey of that customer and for a certain number of customer accounts. So you would have a team that would be put together of, like, let's say 2 SDRs, 3 SDRs, 2 account executives, and 1 customer success rep, right? And these 6 people would create one pod, and they would work together from winning the customer to keeping them and making them happy. And they're responsible for the entire experience of the customer, and they're just one very, very close-knit group. And you can build multiple pods, right? And these pods now compete against each other, not just the SDRs against the other SDRs, but now it's this team that's responsible for both winning new customers, but keeping them and keeping them happy and successful, versus other teams. And you could specialize these pods, right? You could have pods for certain countries, industries, verticals, different sizes of customer accounts. So you can go wild with that. But the basic idea is that you create these small teams, these small pods of specialist roles, and they go out there and they figure things out, right? Another paradigm or another metaphor is that the assembly line, the assembly line kind of team works more like a large army of specialists, and the pods are more like kind of these small guerrilla units, right? Very small teams, a few specialists in each role, and they all go out there on a mission to create, very successful and happy customers. The pod model has pros and cons as well. So the pros are that typically what you get out of pods is a much higher awareness for the entire experience of the customer, right? If I work very closely in a close-knit team with the SDR, the account executive, and the success person, we kind of get that we need to, I don't have to just to care about my own step in the entire process, but I also have to care a lot about what comes before me and what happens after me, right? And I want my team to win, so I care about the lead gen people winning as well as the success person winning, because we're all one team. I don't just care about my sales numbers being great or my lead generation numbers being great. So it creates a higher level of empathy, a higher level of understanding, typically a lot less friction in the communication and in the passing on to information, because the team understands each other a lot better and works with each other a lot closer. But the downside of it is that typically these people individually have less opportunities to grow because there's less competition, right? If we are only two SDRs in this team, we're not going to really push each other to our best. I'm not going to have as much training on the SDR side of things as I might have an understanding of the entire customer journey. So I become less of a specialist in my own role, but I have a much better general understanding of what's going on, and I understand all the other roles that touch the customer a lot better. So, it really depends on your culture if the pod model is a better one or not. A lot of times pods are a really good model for startups because they're less aggressive, less competitive, much more cohesive in the entire experience that they offer the customer. So it's something that a lot of startups are gravitating towards, but also it depends on your industry, right? If you're competing against very aggressive industries and companies that really know what they're doing and sales teams that are assembly lines that are really well run, it's going to be hard for you to compete on a pod model sometimes. So you need to ask yourself, what kind of a team are we? What is the culture that we want to create? But then also, let's look at our competitors. Let's look at our market. How are they organized? Because if all the companies in your market that are crushing it are organized in a very specific way, it doesn't mean that you have to do that too, but it's worth asking the question why they do that. And if they tried the pod model versus the assembly line model versus the island model, and if there were really good and rational reasons why they chose one over the other. So you want to do a little bit of analysis of what's going on in the market, as well as do some introspection and asking yourself, who do we want to be? What is a good cultural fit for us? What is authentic to the type of people we are and we want to hire? And then choose your model. But those are the three models, very simple. Either everybody does everything on their own, is responsible from A to Z to deliver on their own as salespeople, or you create these specialized teams that pass on the customer from one team to the next, or you create little pods of specialists that are responsible for the customer experience in kind of a unified way. I hope this was useful, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the benefits and some of the risks that you see with each of these models. I'd love to hear your experience on how you have put together these models, or how the sales team is organized within your startup. So if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as to go to blog.close.io and subscribe to our blog, and I'll hear you and see you very soon. Go crush it.